This session is going to be moderated on stage by Namit Sharma, CEO, Arre Studios. A big round of applause for Namit ji, please, as he makes his way to the stage. Join him on stage. We have with us over here Tejkarran Singh Bajaj, SVP and Head Originals, Geo Studios. I would now like to call upon stage a fabulous, fabulous actress, a performing artist with all the fitness and excellence in her way. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Harleen, Sethi, please. I would now like to call upon stage Gurmeet Singh, film and series director and producer. My next speaker over here, my next esteemed honorable speaker, Mr. Siddharth P. Malhotra, founder, producer and director, Alchemy Films Private Limited. I would like to call upon stage Mr. Amog Dusard, director and head content, Amazon MX Player. Thank you so much, sir, for being with us over here. I would like to also call upon stage Ms. Priya, Jhavar, senior creative director, Applause Entertainment. Thank you so much. Give it up for Priya ji, please.
Thank you so much. Great bunch of people to be talking to today about the constant change in the content industry. I think been fortunate enough to know and work with pretty much this entire panel, and I must say that if there is a bunch of people on stage that can be talented, then this is it. I think we're really lucky to have all these people together. Guys, we're all hustling on a daily basis, all of us, and we know what it takes to do this. So the first question I'd just like to ask an opener to each one of you is, there's so much churn that's happening in the content space in the last 18 to 24 months. And I mean, change is a constant in our business, but I think there's far more change in the recent past. And we have an audience here on digital and ahead as well. People who may not have the kind of experience that you have, as far as adapting to change is concerned, right? So from each one of you, I'd be really excited to start off by hearing what's that one hack, what's that one tip which you would use to adapt, A, what's your thought on the changing environment, the changing content landscape, and B, a hack on how you would adapt to it. So yeah, Tej, we can go linear.
Thanks, Namit. See, I believe that what we are fighting against is the time of the consumer. So that's the starting point, that there are so many options. We are not fighting for a platform. We are not fighting for long form or short form or micro dramas or non-fiction. What we are fighting against is a YouTube, an Instagram reel, AI generated content. It is creator versus a platform. It's a production house versus a platform. So the models are changing with the mobile in hand, with the resolution increasing, with AI coming into the entire scheme of things. Content creation has become extremely cheap to make. That's the starting point. And then high quality content also. With VO3, the kind of AI generated videos that are being made, those are mind blowing. The animated content that is coming out. So yes, things are changing and we need to evolve with times. We need to see how we can partner with multiple creators to leverage their following. Creator first content, then AI first content. How do we include AI? See, one is creativity. What about the workflow? We need to include AI in workflow, see how costs can come down, see how we can produce at scale. And yes, evolve. I'm sure Amog is there. He can talk from a platform perspective. How's it different, the long form and now doing micro dramas and non-fiction. So from a studio perspective, yes, we are evolving. We are seeing how we can integrate AI into our content in production as well as the workflow. And looking at not micro drama, because that's something we are staying away from. We want to be in the premium space. So yes, as a studio, we are seeing how we can evolve over a period of time and embrace the change.
Embracing change, yeah, it's a good theme always. Amog, coming to you, you're catering now to hundreds of millions of viewers on a daily basis. Your choices are translating into programs that people are viewing on the platform. How do you navigate the constant strategy or feedback, consumer feedback that keeps coming to you? Because tastes are changing faster than ever.
Thank you. First of all, thank you, Namit. Thank you, co-panelists, and thank you, IWM, for having us here. And I've been thinking, we were chatting just before this coming here, and I was reflecting on my journey so far. I've spent a lot of time on television, and I was just thinking, what is the lens that has probably stood relevant for me all through in this journey? In some ways, and I'm attempting this for the first time, but if you look at, really we are talking about content and we are talking about context. And this context in which the content is consumed is what is changing over time.
Agree.
So there was a context in linear television which where for the living room reality, and therefore you would see a certain kind of context. This context could also be cultural, and therefore it starts to influence. The context could also be technological in terms of smartphones and mobile phones and AI, like Tej mentioned, which then starts to influence content. So I think it is the keeping a sharp eye on context from the vantage point of a consumer, because finally everything else gets built around if consumer is engaged. And as you see, the cultural changes that are happening in the context in which consumer is operating. For example, 8-9 years back, we as an industry, OTT streaming really came about, and you saw web series and some amazing content that has been coming out of OTT platforms for the last 8-9 years. And in our recent learning so far, while it's great to binge watch a 300-400 minute content over a Friday or a weekend, we are also getting consumer signals about these micro moments that are getting created during the day because they're really carrying their phone along with them all through, which really became a sort of inflection point for us to see, saying, can the format in which content is being delivered to customers change? It's not only about storytelling getting innovative, but the format or the SKU size, that itself might need innovation. And that's why we obviously, as we look around the world, we've seen micro dramas come by in a big way from East Asia to now even in West. And we've recently started experimenting with micro dramas. We're calling it MX Fatafat, and a bunch of initiatives are planned underway. So just sort of coming back to where we started, I think it's content in the context. Sometimes the users, suddenly new use cases are increasing during commute time, during coffee break time, and then you're really working as a platform professional to see, is there an opportunity there for me to super serve the customer? And I think all the content changes that are happening are really a reflection and reaction to that
society
context.
and technology, I guess. Yeah. That's a very, very interesting sort of, insight. Siddharth, you've been around for a while and started very young, and having produced TV and series and film, that itself, these are like almost sound like three different generations in the entertainment landscape.
Namit, this subtle nudges at our age that I'm
That
seeing.
was just for Siddharth, not
That's
for
only
you.
for me.
Yeah.
Only for me.
Only for
You did
Siddharth.
mention
That's the love
you
for
all
Siddharth.
have a lot of experience. You've been around seeing all these changes.
So, how do you navigate, and currently I don't know if you're doing any television, but you're definitely, doing series, you're producing series and directing feature films. How do you adapt? How do you adapt in writing, in workflow, in production, in vision? What is the lens that you apply? What unifies, what brings you to do all these things at the same time?
So what brings me to do all the things is you need to believe in the story that you want to tell. Specifically for me as a creator or producer, I need to believe in the story. And because I come from a third generation of a film family, so my father was making Katha Sagar, Gulgushan Gulfam. So I've grown up watching classic
Television,
good
long
television.
format, yeah.
Like long format with the greatest of greatest working from like...
With the best writers and the best directors. And
Yeah,
the best
you had
actors.
Shyam Benegal directing,
Yes.
you had all of these, you had the best actors and shooting on film in television. And I grew up seeing that golden age where you took books, Amrita Pritam's novels and all, and you turned them into some great shows without wondering TRP kya aega. Without wondering, we have worked on Sanjeevni, you and me together. We worked on many shows together. We have been in rooms in Star Plus waiting to earn that one pat on the back from a certain executive working 18 hours relentlessly to get one scene right. So there was passion. Then came a time when you started working on television for 6 months on a broad story, and comes 1 week of TRP, and those 6 months of hard work goes out of the window. They say, okay, now your show, which you worked for 6 months, is going to be shut in 1 month. And that's the reality today. Your show, you could be working for 1 year on a show, you can work your ass out to get that show greenlit, but the network wants that number. So writing today, may it be OTT, may it be anywhere, it's something which I saw my mentor Karan quote, that writing today truly has been replaced by an algorithm and creativity by data, clearly. So today, while you have to change and evolve, you have to, as a creator, find your way to retain your voice. You have to retain your soul of why you wanted to tell that story, may it be OTT, film, or television. I just did Pashmina last year, but that I did on sub, and I told them that, look, you're not going to get more than this kind of TRP. You give me 150 episodes, I'll shoot it in your budget fully in Kashmir, in an outdoor. So they agreed and they allowed me.
So they let you express yourself. They allowed you to do
If
that.
I'm not allowed, I won't do television.
Yeah.
Because I have reached a point in my life where it be OTT shows or film, I want to do stories
Allows
I
you to
believe in,
express
and I can leave a legacy behind, at least try to, through my work. So if there is that data, there is that algorithm, which is very correct, because it's a business at the end of the day. It's commerce with art. So while you've got to cater to that, it's very, very important to adapt to the change, at the same time, figure how to retain your voice. And that's important.
I think what I'm hearing also is from you is that, and also what Amok said is that, while the context changes and people's consumption habits change, the one thing that will always link, all of this across time is story, right? Is the love for stories and ideas. Priya, you've been, so you may not know this, but so let me introduce, Priya's, produced one of India's most loved series. She's been part of the core creative team on Scam 1992. I had the pleasure of working with her on that project for a very brief time. And currently, for the last 2 or 3 years, she's dedicated herself to, a magnum opus, Gandhi, being produced by her company. And yeah, what does it take to give all of yourself for many years to that one big thing? While of course there are many other things that we executives do, but what does it take to dedicate, all of you to that one project? In your case, currently it's Gandhi.
So I'm not entirely only doing Gandhi. There are
Okay,
other projects
fine.
which is great, because you need to have palette cleansers. An audience needs a palette cleanser. We as creators need palette cleansers to keep going away to something and coming back to, which is a lot of what my colleagues have spoken about, really snackable content or other kinds of things which really help you go away and come back to what you're doing. So speaking about Gandhi, yes, I mean, it started 3 years ago when we bought the book, but it really takes an army to do anything. It's not one person who's dedicated. It's a lot of people.
Absolutely.
Especially on something like this, we have a massive research team. We of course had the author of the book who was we were constantly working with. But to really dedicate yourself, and for every person to really be dedicated on something like this, is to not so much believe in like a person or a philosophy or anything, but really believe in the power of storytelling, which has stood the test of time forever. So you have to constantly evolve with that moment, experience the story, and really grow with the character. Like with Gandhi, we are not trying to make the Gandhi that everybody knows. We're not, at least not this season, we are not trying to create the man in the dhoti with the round spectacles and leading India into independence. We're really seeing a young adult story, actually, seeing a man grow and come into someone. So a constant eye and sort of finger on what we are making. And then of course there are many, many moving parts on a show like this. You have to, the writing is one thing, but then eventually the casting, the making, it's got like 200 characters. So to really put all of that together, it does take an army. It's not one person, but it takes absolute creative and emotional availability, like we were speaking, to do something like this and to stick with it, because there will be waves of you know, things either going right or wrong. And a lot of things go wrong, we all know. You know, and then you sort of navigate and adapt in the moment, and, you know, sort of like a potter, you bring it back onto the wheel, and, you know, you start like putting it back together. That's really the business that everybody is in the creation of stories. Gandhi just happens to be special because it's big. You know, it's a story about a man whom everyone knows, but the story, very few people really know the story we are telling. So that is both a responsibility and, I mean, it's fun. It's a privilege to be able to, you know, be working with Applause who is doing this, and to be, you know, to have the team. We have Hansal, who is the director, Hansal Mehta. We have a lot of people that are associated with this, all of whom really need to be on the ball. It's not any one person.
It's not just you.
It's not just me. It's definitely not just me. I mean, there's no way. It's not me for sure alone. But of course, every person needs to bring their A game. You can't be on your A game every day. You can never be on your A game every day in this business. But you have to just wake up every morning and try and, you know, sort of put your best foot forward and create that moment. With Gandhi, it's really just been discovering the person, discovering the character, and really discovering the show in the making of it. Because we are creating like 1800s, you know, going up till 1915. It's just, you have to reimagine a lot of it. There are no photographs. You don't even know, like there's nothing. So you have to reimagine what it would have been like, from the fabric of the clothes to how the sun will hit it, you know, and then what it's going to look like. It can't shine because there was no polyester. So there's a lot that you have to sort of create and do, which is, I mean, you'll see a lot of it when I hope everyone loves it.
Yeah, looking forward to
We love it. I hope everyone loves it when you see it.
Nice. Coming to you, Guru. Before we jump to, you know, my favorite topic, Mirzapur, one piece of, you know, one hack or one advice to everyone in the audience here and out there about how to work with change, because, you know, that gets thrown at you every day, despite, you know, doing what you do and who you are. Tell us, how do you work with changing dynamics?
Actually, the challenge is that, you know, change has always been part of the careers that we've all had. We've seen, I think, you know, TV come in when there was no television, then multiplexes come in when there were only single screens, then the corporates come in from individual producers, and it all changed the way we made films or we made content. And then OTT came in. But I think the challenge now is that the exponential rate at which the newer stuff is coming in is much faster. So while in our times we've seen those changes happen, but we had time to adapt to it.
Yes. We had years, now there are only months.
Yeah, so even with the OTT boom, like
sometimes
said, it's not even been a decade that there's already challenges by various other, you know, media platforms. So I think that has been the toughest thing that is existing for everyone, which is why I think the conversation also, because I don't think this conversation we've had over those years, but we're having it now. Because I don't think anybody has a solution for it yet. It's about adapting to it as we go along. When you're working at something or when you're still working, I think it's much more difficult to find your space in the newer section, in the newer segment. So there are only two things that can happen. Either you're working out of the box, which are the new people that are coming in with the micro dramas, or that are functioning and making vertical content or content that's snackable.
Or AI specialists.
You know, Priya was saying. But it's much more difficult for some of us who are actually been working on the longer formats or working on the films to now jump out and come back. So I think currently on the stuff that we're doing, what we have to constantly keep reminding ourselves is the one thing that we can latch on to are the basics. So stuff that we could have taken for granted maybe a couple of years ago, we can't do that anymore. So we have to like buckle down and just make sure that stuff that we knew really well, at least for the given couple of years, we have to put that to our, you know, best of our ability. And when we do have to switch platforms, we are going to go there as beginners. We can't think that we can take this experience into there and hope that we are going to, you know, knock it out of the park. We have to go in there thinking that we are novices. So I think that is something that's important.
It's a time to learn, relearn constantly. Harleen, sorry, I've come last to you, but I think you're going to answer for Siddharth also here on, right? So they did some packed backstage. That's all. So as an actor, you know, you work in multiple mediums, and there's also the waiting game, right? For the right parts, and then you react to the scripts that come to you. How do you, I mean, you know, how do you navigate, how have you navigated, say, the last 18 months, you know, for yourself, between picking the right roles, which you believe in, between maybe doing stuff that you may not want to believe in, but do anyway? How, from an actor's perspective, or some for an on-screen talent, you know, how have the last year and a half been?
By God's grace, they've been good.
Fantastic.
Because of all the amazing people that are sitting here who give me work. It's not easy to navigate, to be honest.
Yes.
I mean, right now, I haven't signed anything yet. So every day you wake up and you're hoping that, you know, you tested for something with this person and you're going to get that call and you're going to be like, oh, what, and you know, what a test you gave and you're on. And, you know, you're always imagining all of these things in your head because you're like, okay, this show of ours did well, the season 2 will be greenlit and you'll get that call and be like, oh, we're on for season 2. So you're always hoping for all of those things. But on the side, you can't just be sitting waiting for that call to come. You also keep working on your craft. So I make sure that I'm always trying to push my own boundaries, trying to learn different methods of acting, whether it's, so at the moment I'm learning something which is more theatrical with Atul Kumar, who's a veteran, you know, in theatre space. I did something with Atul Mongia sir, who's more in, again, film space. You do something at Adi Shakti Theatre, which is, again, a very theatrical process, and it's very interesting. It's in the south. It's a residential workshop. So you always keep your eyes open for what is the other next best thing that you can learn. Last year I did something with Lee Strasberg. There was someone who came down from LA, a teacher who teaches at Lee Strasberg School. So I guess how you navigate, you know, the free days is by learning more, pushing your own boundaries.
By polishing your craft.
Polishing your craft. Hoping you will get that call, so the phone is on loud. And I guess also meeting the right kind of people.
Yes.
I think उसमें शर्म नहीं होनी चाहिए कि काम, you know, मांगने में शर्म नहीं होनी चाहिए, I think. So I think that also helps you really be humble as an actor. Because for some people, I feel like sometimes you feel like, oh, you have bad days and you're like, oh, but you know, I wanted to be in that project and I wanted to be in that project. But then sometimes you meet these really lovely people and they're like, oh, but you don't know how many people want to be in your place.
Absolutely.
How many people want to be in the projects that you have been a part of and be that. So I think there are always reasons you need to find how to be grateful.
Yes.
So I'm grateful to all the people here and I'm grateful for all the work that I have done. And keeping my ears open, eyes open, ke aur kaun kya acha project bana raha hai. You approach them, you know, you get a call from them.
That's a very good and interesting way of looking at life in general. Tell me, as an actor, does social media help? Like, you know, being on social media or being active on social media, doing influencer gigs, etc. Does that help visibility-wise? You know, sort of, you know.
It would be a lie for me to say that it doesn't help. And every time you approach a new agency or you want to work with an agency, they will be like, oh, so what are your expectations? And they're always hoping that brand deals is one of them, which is now more on social media. Absolutely. So visibility has become one of the very important things, but I don't let that bog me down because I still believe that you need to put out stuff over there, keeping your authenticity in place. So otherwise I feel like these days people kind of catch it. If you're just trying to be this person you're not, they'll be like, yeah, okay. They'll put up with it for a bit and then... So I feel like to find a balance between the two things, like you work on your stuff, but you also put yourself out there, which you also see as work. And then sometimes I call my page a lifestyle page, my social media, because I put out, like, it's not just work. Yeah. It's, you know, sometimes I put out pictures of me crying as well. You know, sometimes I put out a poem, sometimes I put out a travel picture, and then of course there's work. So I don't want it to become a pressure, but sometimes it is because, in all honesty, these days there are people from the platform here and all. आजकल वो numbers वाला game थोड़ा हो गया है कि, you know, this versus this, but इसका थोड़ा सा visibility ज़्यादा है, इसके followers ज़्यादा है. You know, so these days sometimes it does happen that no complaints here, but But I feel like sometimes what happens is, someone who has more following gets work over, a good test or someone who is a better actor, I guess. So I think that is still happening. And yeah, look at you. Like, okay,
No,
whatever.
sort of that's a bigger conversation actually. That's a whole separate.
But you asked me about social media, so you asked for it.
One of the things, Amog, that we were talking about recently was that between all the amazing 8-episode premium series that have been getting made and of course television, 200, 300 episodes, there's now this space for the 25, 30 episode show, which consumers are reacting well to. Do you think that's kind of, that's one of the styles of story delivery that will sort of kick in majorly in this year and the years to come? I mean, what's your take on that?
I think the jury is out on this. We really don't know, in all honesty. But that's the fun of having a responsibility like that, because it's an evolving ecosystem. Very little playbooks have been written on digital streaming, and you're learning as you're moving along. I think the approach, what would be generally a good advice is to have an approach of try out something, have quick learnings, double down on what has worked, and sort of keep moving forward instead of being very playbook driven. And I think the other way to look at it, Namit, is especially for folks like me, we are at the center of 3 most important stakeholders, and we are trying to put them all together into do some synthesis of it, which is at one, obviously there is customers as key stakeholders, and you have to keep strong eye on what is moving, what is the culture now, what is the context that is changing in their life. There are advertisers who are wanting interesting ways to reach out to customers. They know there are enough studies that tell you how messaging delivered through OTT is much stronger even for brands, because consumers are a lot more connected when they're watching long form or watching web series, and therefore the messages end up reflecting much better. So you have to continuously evangelize that narrative and also understand what the challenges the advertisers have, how are they moving, and how's your initiatives aligned with that. And third, stakeholders are really the partners, the folks who put out some great stuff. Folks like Siddharth is here, we are working on a project, Harleen is here, all of you guys. So I think my role is really at the center of it, and you have to continuously see, even on the talent, a lot of changes are happening, fresh people are coming in, like for the micro dramas that we are programming. I can tell you, I have probably not met those creators.
You're meeting them for the first time.
Meeting them for the first time, and and they are completely fresh. And it's so great because they come uninhibited. Yes. They are not sort of aligned to what platforms like to listen.
They're not trying to second guess you.
Yeah. So it's an interesting job, and therefore, to my mind, just continuously keeping a tight eye on the stakeholders and what is happening just keeps us better informed on what decisions to take.
Yeah, I think one of the key themes that's coming across in the conversation is a certain amount of agility is required right now about working with multiple stakeholders and working across multiple mediums. Priya, you and I were talking as a creative executive. How does it feel to go from big project, small project, medium project, different project in a day? What is that? How do you how do you deal with that? Tell us a little bit about that.
It is a little bit of a schizophrenic situation at times, because you're sort of navigating various strategies during one day. You sort of divide your day into various parts of the way you think. But like Amog said, there's adaptability and experimentation is really at the key of it. At the core of it, you have to, the audience is really the people who are commissioning anything, right? At a larger level.
Super observation.
There's at some level, because algorithms get built on their behavior patterns, also their availability to watch something, how much travel time they have, what the monsoon is hitting them and how much time they have to spend in the car. A lot of it is really, so stakeholders, like the audience is the absolute stakeholder eventually. So watching that sort of pattern, one does, have to keep watching for that in terms of the kind of content, like the kind of storytelling, as well as the format of storytelling, which goes across, the whole sort of palette, you know, from micro drama to really short videos to the long forms, the 25 episoders that everyone is of course attempting at this point, to television, to film, to, you know, the premium dramas. I mean, it's sort of, there is really someone for everything. But of course, you have to constantly keep evolving with what the audience is really looking for at that point of time. So dividing your mind in those various parts is not only limited to really budgets. Of course, budget is a big thing about it, but it's also about what kind of engagement and whom you're really reaching out to with the, you know, kind of storytelling that you're doing. Because everyone's really, at the end of it, they are looking for universal relatability, right, at some point. So whatever characters we create and the narrative structures do have to have the basic, like Gurmeet said, the basics of, you know, filmmaking, like beginning, middle, end. Yeah. You have to, even if you're doing like a 90-second micro drama, you have to have a hook that's going to bring them back for the next one. You have to have a beginning that's, you have to do, even 90 seconds is time. The audience is giving you 90 seconds of their life. You have to make it worthwhile for them, even for 90 seconds. So you can't just churn out anything in 90 seconds. So the, creatively for me as an executive, everything really remains the same. It's just the format that you tell it in, the amount of time and the money. But as the story, I have to still have its core basic concepts. I have to have a character. I have to have emotional engagement. 90 seconds, 90 minutes, really irrelevant. Everything sort of remains the same, right, at the end of it.
Absolutely. We have to serve the story, deliver the basics, and see where it...
That doesn't change.
One interesting part, and almost like a dichotomy, and I would love to know here what is, while there is, you know, new areas of storytelling that we are getting into, new kind of web series, subjects that have not been touched before, there is, because like Gurmeet mentioned, there's so much content coming out, we are consciously also realizing that in an environment where many more shows are coming out, I think audiences sometimes are also seeking certain hedging on their experience. And that's why franchises, returning seasons play a very important role, because consumers are familiar with that space. So and that's why you would see obviously a lot more returning seasons come out, and they end up doing well from a point of view that I already know this world, I already know these characters, and therefore I'm hedging that my 1 hour spent, speaking to the same point that she was saying, that if consumer is, little dramatically she said, consumer is giving 90 seconds of his life or her life, but that's true.
Storytelling.
But even when you are ourselves thinking on what to watch while just browsing, in a lot of cases you just go to something that is more comforting, more familiar. Yeah. And I'm speaking to probably to a lot of us who, you know, sometimes figuring out what to do, and their algorithms.
I can spend an hour just figuring out what to watch and then not watch anything.
And sometimes not watching it all.
Yeah.
And that's why we've consciously, at least on our service now, building, because you asked about long format. So while we continue to explore new areas of storytelling in different, as new web series, some of our shows like Campus Beats, which has already done 5 seasons, and we are doing
phenomenal success.
More of So the returning seasons have their own sort of marketing efficiency, because you don't have to market them as fresh series.
The compound interest theory works there as well, right? Where you kind of, on every returning season, does it all get better? Like, do previous seasons get watched more? Are there more audiences overall that get drawn into the franchise?
It's actually both. So obviously you have some bit of hedging, because obviously the loyal customers come in. But depending on how you've chosen those stories, you keep it open or write it in a way that new people can also find themselves fairly easy to walk into a story like that. And that's how the evolution is happening on even our strategy side, saying how much in a market where so much new content is coming, is it really about just putting new shows out every month, or you want to sort of
handhold the audience through a certain process?
And that's why the franchises are coming
a big role. Yeah, Teji was saying.
So I just want to add to this. There's a lot of discussion happening in our circle saying there is audience fatigue setting in. Because we have all been talking about that how people are moving away from Hindi originals, because there is a lot of Korean dubbed shows, American dubbed shows. Now with the lip syncing technology coming, you will see a Tom Cruise talking in Hindi perfectly. That would be there in 3 to 6 months. So the audience fatigue is setting in. If that is the thing, I really believe that it is. yeah, because somehow I feel that we as executives need to get out of our comfort zone. We are somewhat getting lazy. Crime is working, so we make multiple crime shows. Tier 2 set in UP Bihar is working, so we go to UP Bihar, shoot everything. A comedy show is working, so we put episodic content out there. We are not thinking ahead of the consumer. Our job as executives is not to see what consumer is seeing and then replicate it. Our job as executives is to think, to give them something which they don't need.
Which will excite them.
Which will excite them, which they don't think they need, yet sell it to them. So I believe we need to create a lot of new worlds. I am very happy that they are doing Gandhi, because we have been living with Union for the last 4 years now. Yeah, so she talked about 200 characters and all. We have 500 characters, multiple locations throughout the country, throughout the world. So yes, I believe that audience fatigue is setting in. We need to get out of our comfort zone, create new worlds, go to new places, tell new stories. Otherwise, Korean shows are there. People will see the dubbed shows, they will see English shows, and we'll be sitting here a year down the line and talking about why our shows are not working. So yes, it's a reality check that we all need to have.
Agree, change is everything. Sidhu, you wanted to say something?
No, I just said, "Aapke muh mein ghee shakkar." I hope all executives are like you, yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. We're talking about comfort, and we're talking about audiences loving some things and wanting to go back to them. And Guru has created and directed Mirzapur. Now 3 seasons down, going into 4th season and a feature film. Guru, with the passage of time, what do you try and stick to while crafting every consecutive season, or even the movie now, for that matter? Because obviously there's something about that show that people love and relate to over the years, right? I mean, the audience of the first season is now what? 7 or 8 years older than they were when they consumed it. It's almost a decade, 8 years, right? And clearly people are still loving season 1, and then 2, and then 3, and anticipating the movie. And it's a franchise built on a huge, it's possibly the only franchise going into cinema right now, and also huge fan base, right? Like there's a very active fan base, I would say. So what do you hold on to? What are the things that you don't let slip away,
Firstly, of course, we've been very fortunate, and a lot of the credit also goes to the fact that, we were one of the first few to have come out, and stars aligned and it sort of clicked, and the kind of writing we had and the actors that came on board, and they were a really good bunch of talented actors that were there, and I guess that also happens very few and far between, and we were just lucky to be there when that happened. And they've all now broken out, and they're stars in their own rights across all shows, platforms, devices, formats, everything. So of course that is something that you cannot quantify. But as far as coming back with another season or coming back with the film, what we constantly trying to remind ourselves is, when we did the first season, there were no expectations of success. So now the only thing that we changed around and we spoke about is that we don't write with an expectation of failure.
Okay.
So we're not going into it thinking that if we do this, then we're not going to achieve success. So we try to put that out of our minds. So because we did take a lot of risks the first time around, we try and take even bigger risks the second time, the third time, and we get trolled for it, but the fan base keeps growing. So that is the only thing that keeps telling us that it doesn't matter. But if we have taken the risk, it's going to reflect on the audience as well. And that is what we attempted to do with the film as well, because it is uncharted territory. But हमें तो मजा आना चाहिए पहले. So if that is unhindered, and of course Prime has to be given a lot of credit for that. They've given us a lot of comfort to be able to go ahead and do that. And that's why hopefully we can still turn out something that the audience will continue to love.
Which they love, which they continue loving. Yeah. Oh, quick one, we have about 7 minutes left. If you were to just predict for 12 months from now, what is going to be more important, the format or the idea? Priya. Idea. The idea or the format?
The idea.
The idea.
I think it's always going to be the idea. It's always been the idea. It'll always be the idea, in my opinion. But there, I mean, of course, how you tell it, like we've discussed.
But the format could decide the fate of the idea.
The format might not be able to decide. See, I don't think the format will be able to solve for a bad idea.
That is true.
It'll have to be a good idea to begin with. Your skeleton will have to be strong. Your storytelling will have to be something you believe in. The format will not be able to solve for that. A bad story cannot be shrouded in a different format and just be told with, so it really is which one of the two is really going to win, so to say. It's going to definitely always be the idea. If you don't have a good idea, you can't tell it in any format. If you have a bad idea, you can't sell it off in any format. It's not going to work. People they're not really coming to watch for, they are coming to watch for particular sort of formats or time or, but they're not really coming to see how much money you spent on something. They're really coming for an idea. No one cares. You may have made it cheaper, you may have made it expensive. If they're not liking the concept, they're not liking the idea, they don't like the way you've told your story, they don't relate to your characters, they're not going to watch it. So, the idea, yes, just to answer it.
Amog.
I don't think you'll get any different
answer. Any different answer, okay. So I'll ask you a different question. 12 months later, if you're sitting on this panel again and talking, as per your gut, which new format will the audience would have accepted more? Is it, because you're obviously, like you said, toying with telling the stories in multiple different formats, right?
I think that's the most interesting part in most of our cases, and if you go beyond media or content and just see how India has adapted to global trends, we've always been this and that. We've never really changed, but we've accommodated, assimilated more and more of it. Yeah. So I really don't think it's just more choices for consumers to consume in time of their choice, story of their choice. And we are just talking about formats. Look at what language access has done. Now, today on our platform, the scale at which international content, which we program is called Videsi, where we bring the best of the world content in Indian languages, the scale, it's not a niche, it's a huge scale, which is consuming, each Korean show is almost 16 hours of content. We see that getting consumed in 2-3 days flat.
Wow.
That's kind of the fan following that you have. Yeah. So
these are dubs?
These are local, yes. These are, so in any case, like what Tej was saying earlier, in any case, we have to be quite at our edge and guarded because consumers have so much more choices, and in a flip, they will move from one thumbnail to other and make that decision. But coming back to your question, microdrama is promising. There is, at least in the work that we've done so far, seems like a very promising, unique space, solves for a particular consumer need. And that definitely seems very promising to solve for. But I don't know whether that comes at the cost of, because you would still want to have a more deep immersive experience on a Friday night or a Sunday afternoon, or watch a show like Panchayat with your family on Sunday evening. And you might also have a use case to watch 5 episodes of a very edgy, fast-moving microdrama while having a coffee break. So I'm really on this and this plus that, and not really this or that train.
Siddharth, do you think technology is going to play a bigger role as we go along?
We'll have to just adapt to the technology. That's about it. AI or anything else. We'll have to be ready for change, because I've realized in my line, today good enough is not good enough. You've got to be really the best in what you bring. Otherwise, there are too many talented people waiting 1 centimeter, not even an inch behind you, to replace you, and they are talented and they don't have the opportunity. So you want to keep your job, you've got to adapt with all the change possible, may it be a microdrama, a drama, may it be a play, may it be anything, and then bring your A game and the best that you can only bring to the table, otherwise you're not getting a job. That's what I bring. That's what I think.
Guru, words to younger filmmakers, writers who are watching you, who want to get inspired by you?
Well, actually, you guys are the ones that have the new ideas, and you will know the new technology much better than us sitting outside. So you have the advantage of being able to tell your story before you come anywhere close to the executives, which we never did. So use that to your advantage. Don't let that bog you down. So you can actually find your voice even before you arrive here, as opposed to much earlier when you had to be here to have access to a lot of technology, aid, money to be able to make any sort of content. But now you can do that sitting at home. So the ones that are truly here for being able to make content or tell stories or make films are the ones that are going to actually thrive. So if you enjoy it, you'll find your way. There is I don't think there's any stress. It's a good time for younger filmmakers.
Harleen, do you think YouTube and social media can allow actors like yourself, senior or younger, to break the cycle of waiting for the phone call? Because a lot of people now are creating their own destiny, right, in that sense. So what's your take on that? I mean, sort of.
I actually wanted to add that point.
Yeah.
But वो answer लंबा हो रहा
अब
था
आप
तो.
अब बोलिए.
But yeah, I don't think that like Siddharth sir just said, 1 centimeter पीछे ही कोई खड़ा है तो वो सिर्फ उस phone call की wait नहीं कर सकते. You can also adapt anything. You can pick up a book, just shoot yourself on camera, put it out there. So today, I mean, look at where Zakir Khan has reached. So I think anything is possible in today's day and age. You don't really need to just wait for that call.
Phone call.
Yeah, for that phone call.
Tej, sorry, go ahead.
No.
Please, go ahead.
Yeah, that's what.
Tej, final words about navigating the future. I mean, I think you already said it. I think you called it out that nobody should be able to rest on their laurels and assume that they know. What would you do? What would you do after knowing that?
What we'll do is we'll continue investing in stories that we believe in. We'll continue to, we have worked with everyone sitting on the panel. Yeah, so we will invest in content that we believe in. We will invest in content in which new worlds are created. We will invest in our returning seasons also. And that's what we will believe in. But I agree with Amok. He said, India is not this or that. 3 साल से हम बोल रहे हैं TV is dead, TV is dead, TV is dead. Still you are getting TRPs on TV, yeah? So it's not about the format, it's about the story. It's about how well you tell the story on that format. अगर आप दिल से कुछ बोलेंगे, अच्छा बोलेंगे, तो consumer will appreciate you. अगर आप सिर्फ पैसे के लिए बोलेंगे, तो कुछ नहीं होगा.
Thank you, Tej, for wise words, and thank you, panel. I think this has been truly enlightening. I hope the audience agrees. Yeah, it'll be nice to
Thank you, Namit.
hear back from them. Thank you so much.
Thank you.